Channel, welcome. Thank you for being here. Let me go ahead and fix the chat. I'm going to need to this time, I have a feeling. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Give me one moment. There we go. And there we go. Okay, so hang on. This is going to be tough. The purposes of this channel is to share my personal testimony, which is definitely a cautionary tale, to hopefully help and assist others out there to bring awareness to what is going on, the type of world we're really living in, our reality. And it's my act of penance and repentance, and yeah, and it's an act of love. I hope it's the perfect act of contrition for my children's sake. I'm going to talk a little bit about that, and I'm going to use as vague descriptors as possible because, regardless, at the end of the day, these are still people I've shared my life with, people that share my blood, some of them, and I love them, regardless of how they may feel about me at this time or have felt about me. So, getting that out of the way. Somebody passed away in the family, and it's the first passing that I've heard about, that I've witnessed, that I've been privy to personally and close to me since Rona began. I used to lose people all the time. It's kind of a pattern, and I want people to understand, because we're going to get into high strangeness here. We're going to get into things that I'm looking into for personal reasons, that I believe we all need to be looking into, because you can't judge a book by its cover. We cannot be judging each other by physical appearances. We got to go by the fruit that the tree bears. So, having said that, it's the first passing that I've been to in a long time. Uh, that was close to me even before Rona. And again, I lost people a lot. I lost my high school sweetheart, um, a few other friends close to me at a young age. My dad in 2012, my mom in 2015, his dad in 2016, I think. And all of these people I know, for whatever reason, they greatly resemble people who are on the political world stage. And we're going to talk about that too, about who runs things. Now, again, I told you at the beginning, if you missed it, I'm sorry, but I'm going to give as vague descriptors as possible because these are people that I shared my life with and that I love very much. But as my act of repentance and also as a tribute to this person in one moment. Yeah, I do this to help others. I share my tale. So the family lost somebody uh, that I loved. I love this person a lot. And it's hard to say because you love people, right? But especially when they pass and you have estrangement happening, it's hard to talk about. And you don't know how to wrap your mind around it. And you have this constant now feeling of things that are unresolved, right? Unfinished business, if you will. So I really liked this person. I admired this person. I looked up to this person a great deal. I considered this person a sister. This person did not consider me that way. It needs to be understood that all the people that I do love, I'm well aware of, and you should be aware of too, because again, they don't have the same hearts as us. Now, I'm a pacifist. I don't believe in going out there and doing harm, but you need to understand this is what you're seeing, this devolution, if you will, this decline in people's overall attitudes. They look soulless, gaunt in the face, right? Like not just celebrities, people we know have greatly changed. Some for the better, some not so much. But this person that we lost, I looked up to a lot, I admired, and I considered her a sister. She did some very nefarious things to me. I don't believe in ridiculing the dead, and throwing them under the bus if they can't defend themselves. At the same time, I also am not one of them people who will venerate a human being that's passed just because now they're passed. I don't do that. Um, This person always had a smile. They had those piercing blue eyes, which we've talked about before, and we're going to talk about again once I'm done with this short confession and tribute. Um, she had those piercing blue eyes, and when I got that last job at the pizza shop a few roads away, I told you guys about all the strangeness that happened there in my testimony videos. She had the eyes of my sister-in-law, this person that I loved very much. She had her eyes. The eyes are the windows to the soul. When I tell you she had her eyes, I'm not saying it was somebody else with blue eyes. I mean, it was her blue eyes, and I know a lot of people with blue eyes, and they're all different. They don't all look the same to me. Some of them are piercing, some are sky blue, some are sea blue, some are gray blue, right? So just to get that clear, this person convinced me to apply, and I was done applying for jobs, especially around here, but this person convinced me to apply for this job, and it's important you hear this because this is where The Walking Dead kind of comes in. Something that they showed us that might have been truth. Remember, they said everybody has the whatever it is? It's almost like when people pass away. Um, this is why Moses's body, I believe, was fought over between Saint Michael and the devil. When someone passes away, I'm not sure what the circumstances need to be, but especially if you try to self delete, somehow they can take over your life. Now again, we're gonna talk about how that happens exactly, but, when the angels mated with women, they did not know because they took on the appearance of their husbands. Though some of them knew, the single women did know. They entered those relations, knowing. A lot of us now, we don't know, and this also gets into the UFO disclosure that they're talking about now with the hybrids. So again, if you don't like my chit chat, I'm sorry, but I'm not gonna allow people to, like, just run off and say whatever. So I love this person a lot. She did not like me like I liked her. She left me one time, one night at a bar, and I had to find a way home. And this was somebody again I considered a sister, and she did some rough things to my children, like just her attitude with children. And she was one of those people that like to talk about child harmers, and she might be one of the only people who knows who might have harmed my child. And now she's gone. Now you gotta hear this, though. You've got to hear this because this is where it gets strange. Now, I love this person. She always had a smile for everybody. The last several years we hadn't talked. I know that she got into drinking a lot. Um, but you have to understand this too. Transmigration of the soul. Both people are still here, much like Selena Gomez and Gina Davis. They're still here, but it's like something happened to the soul of Selena Gomez that allowed Gina Davis just to go into that body, okay? The fallen angel spirit or Nephilim spirit, they're cursed to walk the earth because they're evil spirits. I think they take our bodies when we allow them to. This is why I don't necessarily believe in synthetic clones. I do believe in synthetic robot type things, but I don't necessarily believe in clones because I don't think God would allow that. So this woman that had her same eyes, had her same attitude, body type sort of, hair sort of, kind of like when you see the celebrities now. It looked like Jim Carrey. You knew it was supposed to be Jim Carrey, but it wasn't Jim Carrey, and we can all see that. Um, my sister-in-law, her eyes, her attitude, everything was in this woman that I was working with. And it's important to say this woman had tried to self-delete a couple years prior. And again, I was cut off from the family in 2018. We've got all these lockdowns and things happening, and I wasn't seeing anybody. And again, that's key for you too, not just me. There's a reason I'm telling this story because it's very hard for me. My chest hurts, like it's very difficult. I might end up being one of those channels that they talk about after I'm gone. The day, oh, she was crazy, she needed help, this, that, and the other. Go through my testimonials because everybody's talking about this stuff now. I was talking about demon syndrome before anybody when I saw my family change. So this woman had her eyes. Now, when she passed away, it was allegedly a couple of days ago. The actual sister-in-law, her body and everything, not this other woman, not this younger woman that I had been working with who had her eyes, who had her characteristics, listened to the same type of music, even had her like body stance, she would stand the same, all that stuff. It's very bizarre. Um, this is so hard because the other lady was my aunt to a T. Totally. Like attitude. She even said stuff that my aunt would say to me, and I walked into shift one day and she was like, "I can't be here when Jen's here." And I'm like, "Why can't you be here when I'm here?" "Oh, I didn't know you were standing there." And then they tried to say they were just teasing. Well, why were you teasing if you didn't even know I was standing there? Not, they're not good actors again. So I'm able to like this is how well I know people, and I think being an artist and being I remember things. And I'm gonna tell you something else. I've went through my life since I the last 7 years God has had me secluded. Anyway, let me finish this. So she passed away. So I was invited to the house, and of course I went because like it's just what you do, right? And I loved her, and I love my children, and she's their aunt, and so like we're doing this thing. Yeah, nobody was the same. It was very short, it was very rushed, everybody just kinda gathered at the house. She was still there, the coroner hadn't come yet. I went in to say goodbye because I have to see it, like, I have to. I've never been present when anybody has passed, even when I worked in healthcare. That's key to this story too. Never have I been present when anybody has passed. Never have I seen a new cemetery open in PA or Ohio in the whole time I've been alive. Same cemeteries. That's key for you too, not just me. That's why I tell my story. So I go in to say a prayer and I touch her foot. Now, again, I'm kind of a Nazarene in that way. I don't believe in handling dead bodies anymore. And I was not going to cut my hair, but I did that for other reasons. So I go in and she's under a sheet, right? And I can see her face. First of all, she's very big, bigger than I remember. And it seems to be mostly in her stomach. We got there at 6:30. They allegedly got the call, now pay attention, 3:30, 33, there's your 33. It had only been allegedly 3 hours. She lay down for a nap, goes in to check on her, she's passed. Coroner calls, and this takes a couple hours. The same thing had happened to my brother-in-law, and he was like a piece of wood. And my mother-in-law has now lost 2 children, and that's just horrific. Anyways, I touch her foot, right, and I'm saying an Our Father for her. And just like telling her to go with God, hoping he gives her a chance. If I'm wrong about things, which sadly I don't think I am, anyways, and it's not pride. I wish I was wrong about all this. So I touch her foot, and remember I worked in healthcare, and her foot is cold, but rigor hasn't even started, and that's not normal. And when I say she was cold, it's almost like somebody had her in a freezer, and her color. For it just being 3 hours allegedly, her color was way wrong. Like, just not I don't even know how to describe it. But having worked in healthcare, again, I've seen a lot of deceased I've never been there when it's happened, but I've seen people going into and then in that phase, so I know the stages that they're supposed to go through, but I've seen none of this in, like, the last 8 to 10 years. So we're gonna talk about everybody knows the fallen, right? Everybody knows that the fallen allegedly mated with human women. And that because now here's the thing, they were giants. A lot of people say they weren't, but I'll prove it right now. This is why they started consuming people because the vegetation did not replenish quickly enough for their large bodies. This habitation, right? Think of yourself as a scientist or you're a kid with an ant farm. Our habitation, our ecosystem here is enclosed. It was made for us. It wasn't made for giants, and because and a lot of people will say oxygen is different, we were the giants, that's not true. That's just not true, and again, I'll prove it. This is why they started cannibalizing human beings is because and it says it in the Bible, but in different ways, but I'm just and again, you've gotta study, but I'm just gonna give you the cliff notes here. They started consuming people mostly, but not completely, but mostly a lot of them because the vegetation wouldn't replenish quickly enough and it wasn't enough to satiate them. They didn't understand probably at that time that nothing would be enough. And that gets into their devouring, all-consuming type of spirit that they seem to have, these Nephilim hybrids. Everybody, let you know, on this channel, we're not gonna pretend. We see people changing. Like it's a given. We know this is a fact. People have changed, their body types, their faces, they some look soulless, some have taken on characteristics of other people. So now at this point, everybody knows what I've been talking about for the last 8 years, right? We're on the same page now. So this is what I wanna do. I feel responsible for my sister-in-law's passing, and I don't know why, because I hadn't seen her in a long, long time, years. But when people hurt me, and this is nothing I do intentionally, but when people hurt me, especially in the last 8 years, they seem to disappear. Uh, and had a weird night a few nights ago. And again, I know these people mess with our dreams. I know they mess, and it's always your subconscious. It's always when you're about to fall asleep and you're in between that period of sleepfulness and wakefulness. You'd have to go back to my other videos about DNA harvesting and the alien thing and all that. They're working with, high tech stuff and they're working with other beings, but they're not from other planets. That doesn't happen. Those other planets are part of Kabbalah. It's their ritualistic, that is their nod, if you will, to the main fallen angel gods, little g gods, right? The planets. That's what they are. It's kind of like the Kabbalistic tree of life or the even the chakras, maybe. But again, their tree of life is defunct and inverted because it does not hit God. And this is why they use that phrase chosen ones and all this stuff on us, like they're trying to lure people out, right? I hate that phrase chosen one, how it's being like thrown around for clout now, and I hate grifting for God. I don't do that. But we're going to talk about why people have changed, and this is the question I have because I said something the other day. I said, I said something like she's one of the only people who knows who might have harmed my child. And then I had a weird night. Something happened, like, I banged my head. They like to do this to me, it's always my head. And again, I'm sober, I'm not, like, doing things. And I wanna know if it's my fault, like, I feel responsible, and I don't even know why. But again, if we are in tribulation, God protects his children, those who are, and I'm not saying we're perfect, I'm not saying I'm special. He protects those who are striving, trying to pass the gospel, spread love, right? Like, people who are repenting, people who are penitent. Um, God will honor that, the creator, maker, fabricator. So, because I feel responsible for this, we're going to look again at shapeshifters, but we're going to head at this and we're going to approach it from a different angle. And I'm going to get through this part as fast as I can because if you want to see the pictures and images, um, then you guys can, you'll have to like set the bell so you can see when I go live from my laptop because it's different, that way. So what we're going to do real quickly, I'm going to read to you. We want to get a mental picture. Now this is an AI vision of an angel, okay? My question is this, do the hybrid children, do they have any of these same abilities? Can they change their appearance? Is that woman I was working with, was her spirit put in there, like in The Golden Child with Eddie Murphy, like in the Buddhist tradition with the singing bowls? Was her spirit put in this other person? Or did she shapeshift into that person and take over their life after getting rid of that other person? I need to know these questions because again, I feel personally responsible for certain things, and God, I believe, has me here to watch these things and report on them to you guys so you can kind of spread the message like, hey, not everything's as it seems, because you need to be very careful in this time, because you don't know who is who. You don't know who you're dealing with. And they're very vicious. Like you might think, "Oh, I love this individual," and they might have this magnetism that you can't explain, and you think, "Oh, well, they're so great," and I know that, even though my partner is part, and they might reveal it to certain people who are like Mormons and who are in the club, because again, anywhere that you see polygamy is where the fallen angels have corrupted that well spring, if you will, of Christians. When you see polygamy, it's the doing of the fallen ones. And that's a fact, because God made Eve for Adam. He made her for him specifically, right? There's only one for each one. So anyways, I need to know if how they're changing. Are they change and I know this person because I looked, and because you work with people and you start sweating and you see certain things, they weren't wearing masks. Like that I know for a fact. It wasn't these silicone things that you're seeing and again, I think they're showing that they're telling you AI is a lot better than it actually is. You could call anything artificial intelligence. You could call old school Atari. You could call Photoshop, GIMP, any of those things are artificial. I think they want us to not know what is real, right? You need to trust yourself. You need to work on your discernment. And you, again, watch media with the volume down. Look at the pictures they're showing you. Go by what framework you see and not what somebody else is telling you to receive. I hope this makes sense. I'm trying my darndest to connect with people and help you through this time. And most people don't even realize they need help through this time, unfortunately. So I need to know how they're doing this, and if the hybrids are able to do this, and if they take on the attributes of the angels. So in Ezekiel 1 and 10, the prophet describes angels, specifically cherubim. Okay, because we're going to talk about cherubim and seraphim first. Briefly. It's not going to be super long. Celestial beings with human-like forms, but featuring four faces. Now, again, I don't know if these animal faces that they have are literal or not. I'm gonna say that I think they're literal, but I also think, like, if they come down into human form, because they have four faces in heaven, they can have four faces here. The question is it four human faces or the animal faces? Is it more like the Babylonian hieroglyphics, or uh, what's the other one? The Navajo, where they have, the head of an animal and the body of a man. So in Ezekiel, cherubim are described as having four faces: a man, a lion, an ox, and an eagle with four wings. They appeared with burnished bronze feet, human hands under their wings, and they were accompanied by wheels within wheels. I think the wheels within wheels, me personally, is their conveyance, and I do believe it's sentient, for lack of a better word, and it matches up only to each angel, if that makes sense, because it's connected to them via their mind. And we've heard this about aliens too. I'm just coming at this from angels, and we're going to look at witches too next, because believe it or not, they're connected. The women who knowingly enter this relationship, I think, become witches. And they're afraid of water. So I don't believe when Enoch says they turn into sirens. I don't think, again, this is not all of them. And most people don't want to say this, but there are different beings here, and we each have it's different strokes for different folks. We each have different laws of nature that we are supposed to follow. The demoniacs and the holy angels, the demons didn't realize when they fell they would still have to work for God, right? They're just working for him in a different way and refining us. The angels who are still holy with God, they have their free will. They chose to stay with God, so they follow the laws, right? Humans are in between. We're kind of in the middle. There are certain theologies that say we turn into angels. And I've seen people talking about how Father God does not have a hierarchy. That's wrong. And you can see it in scripture. There absolutely is a hierarchy. Um but it's nothing that can be boasted or bragged about, right? And you can tell there's a hierarchy because of the way Lucifer behaved and how he fell. He did not want to be in his place. There's a hierarchy because God, our Father in heaven, is orderly, right? Each kind with its own set of laws or rules or guidelines. Um, so I just wanted to put that out there because I know a lot of us are subscribed to like interchangeable channels and whatnot, and some people out there have far too many channels just to get in somebody's feed or because somebody blocks them, and it's ridiculous. Four faces in Ezekiel 1 and 10 for the cherubs. I also find it interesting the English word, you've got cherubim and seraphim. It's almost like the L when it's in Hebrew. Um, and Lucifer, right? He's the only one with that kind of name until you get to the fallen angels and the Watchers and the Book of Enoch, and then you have like Semyaza and Azazel. Well, Azazel has it, but anyways. So they have four faces. Now the question is, when they come down here into human form, are all of those? Can they interchange four faces? Then do they have four that are just their own? Well, we're going to look into a little bit of lore, but let's also go to Isaiah then. Isaiah also describes angels, but his are the burning ones, and these are the seraphim. This is what Lucifer would have been, the kind of angel he was. And remember, somebody has to take his place as choir director up there. God does promote and demote, and that is obvious from what happened in the fall. Some of them turn into demons. The squirrels are out on the tree. So the cherubim, or sorry, the seraphim have, we're not going to talk about their wings right now. They're described as having voices, hands, and feet. Now, they are suggested to burn, to be radiant. They only have, I don't know, they have like four wings. Their voices are so loud they cause the doorposts and thresholds of the temple to shake, right? So again, the seraphim, Lucifer was a seraphim and he was the choir director. So then we can logically make the next step and say, and this is critical thinking, and I explain all this because some people have just lost the ability, and I'm not dogging on you. I'm trying to again encourage us all to work on our memories because all this stuff, the short videos, everything is kind of bad for our all of that. So if he was the choir director, it makes sense then that they would all have like these booming loud voices, right? And perhaps they are also the ones who will blow the trumpets. Um, they're also agents of purification, which I find interesting. They use tongs to take a burning coal from the altar and touch Isaiah's lips with it to purify him of sin and guilt, which I find fascinating. I find that very interesting. Okay, so we're going to move over and we're going to go somewhere else. We're going to go to Fandom Monster Wiki. Why? Because we're going to, now in here, they're calling them Ophanim, Ophanim, Ophanim. Let's see what, there we go. It refers to the, okay, so the Ophanim are the actual wheels itself, all right? Refer to the wheels seen in the vision of the chariot described in the book of Ezekiel. One of the Dead Sea Scrolls interprets them as angels themselves, like the chariot is the angel, like what people are seeing now, the plasma balls. The final section of the book of Enoch, and again, I go to these things, Fandom Wiki and Monster Wiki and stuff like that, because it's condensed, but you'll find lore here that you can look around today and say, wow, that's happening. I'm seeing that. So the final section of the book of Enoch, 61:10 and 71:7, portray them as a class of celestial beings who, along with cherubim and seraphim, guard the throne of God, and they never sleep. Now, the seraphim also guard Eden, I believe, with their swords of fire, their flaming swords. The Ophanim are the thrones, is what they'd be called, I think, in Catholicism. And they're actually a class of angel, not describing the throne. They are thrones. They're called thrones because they're there with God. Um, and they're also referred to as the many-eyed ones, which I also find fascinating because if God sees everything and hears everything and knows everything, and he has workers, his angels are his warriors, you got to think of God as the commander in chief, right? and his angels, his hierarchy of angels, uh, they are his army, for lack of his spiritual army, for lack of a better word, and they're our army too. And you want to be on their good side. And this is why I said also be careful who you're listening to on YouTube, because they're getting you to fear and hate anything you see in the sky. And I'm trying to say, wait, some of it's going to actually be from above, some is going to come from the water. The ones that come from specifically salt water, usually, um, bad. Bad, bad, bad. Those are the those are the wrong ones, okay? You don't wanna mess with them. So we're gonna go now. So we're gonna go to Supernatural Wiki, and I'm gonna repeat something I said earlier about The Walking Dead. In The Walking Dead, they find out that everyone has this germ or disease or whatever it is that they have, the zombie, right? So when that person dies, they will come back as a zombie. It's kinda cracking on the resurrection, like, obviously, it's getting people to, like, be scared instead of to be at peace with certain things and to, like, do your best here, right? Um, but I've had people who have left my life, or we've been separated for a time, whether it was because of vacation or something else that has happened, and when they come back or when we are brought back together, they are changed. Just like you see with Jim Carrey, just like you see with Ariana Grande. Now they weren't super skinny like that, but their body shapes were different, and usually it's they're more gluttonous, and I'm just being honest. My mother was separated from me, she came back different. Um, and whatever this is that's been around me, it's been around me my whole life, because again, but it's only been the last 6 or 7 years that when somebody harms me, it seems like they're just they disappear. Is that why Moses's body was being fought over? Is there something that we do wrong that we give consent to these things to take our body when we die? Now I told you about my sister-in-law and how that person looked just like her, had her attributes, all of them. And I know because I said certain things to her, and this is what I wanted to say too. I said certain things to this woman that I totally believe had the spirit of my sister-in-law. Once I knew I was right, because I said something to her one day. I said, "Yeah, but I love my family. I'm doing the things I'm doing because, tough love." And she was like, "Oh, you do?" Like, she was shocked. And I was like, "Yeah, of course I do." That's when I knew it was her. And I started telling her all the things that I had never told her. I would be making hoagies or pizza and talk about, oh, yeah, my sister-in-law was a great hostess. She was really, I started saying nice, things that I hadn't said to her, because I don't know if transmigration, reincarnation, whatever you want to call that thing, they do, but they're doing it, and they did it a bunch. I don't know if that's some type of anniversary. I don't know what happened that flicked the switch, but a whole bunch of people's bodies got taken over, and their whole spirit, their whole demeanor, their whole attitude has changed. And watch, after a time, depending on how they eat or gluttonize, even their physical appearance will start to change. Like you saw with Jim Carrey, like we saw a few years ago with Madonna at the MTV Movie Awards, where she was just kind of poofy. And again, it's very strange. So, is that what happened? Do somehow they take over these bodies, or do they become them and take over their lives? Thank you for being here, Sheridan. I'm sorry I didn't say hello sooner. Again, these things are hard for me because these are people I love. Now we're going to Supernatural Wiki because I want you to hear a couple things that it says here. You don't see this in scripture. This is from a TV show. But again, there are people on both sides that God will raise up, but not often does he let one of his children be like a celebrity on the screen, but it does happen. So they're saying a Nephilim is a hybrid creature conceived by an angel and a human. It says the offspring contain a mixture of human soul and angelic grace as a source of power inherited from both parents. Whenever a Nephilim grew into their power, entire worlds died, according to this show. But again, Planets aren't real, but we're moving on. And the Nephilim is destined to become more powerful than the angel that created them. I'm not sure why that is. Um, Again, because God doesn't usually allow that, but I think more powerful just because they're bigger and because they have some type of humanity, some type of soul. And again, it's a TV show. Do we believe it all? I don't know, but I want you to hear a couple things. Okay, so Nephilim are the result of reproduction between a human and an angel occupying a vessel or a body. All right, they have glowing eyes like an angel, though their glow is somewhat dim and grayish in color as opposed to the bright white or blue white glow of regular angels. How many people do we know now with them shiny blue eyes? Erica Kirk. She's the main one I think of immediately because, again, I know who she is. I know who her doppelganger is in my area. I've kind of had it with the whole show. Like, they're really bad at this. Really bad. I don't know what changed, but anyway, it says Lucifer's eyes were red, his Nephilim child's eyes were golden. We are told eyes like fire, but in the Bible, but isn't that describing Christ? Eyes like fire. Now it says they were stated to have been quite destructive with their powers. Again, they are destroyers. This is why you see a lot of the buildings and the shape that they're in. They probably would have lasted longer, some of them. But because they were so big and this ecosystem was not designed for them, they ran out of food. They ate all the food. Then they started eating humans. And that's when God said enough is enough. Now, why God let their genes be carried through Noah's sons' wives on the ark and all that, I'm not sure. I'm not God. I don't know. This is why when I run into them and I meet them, I still try to be charitable to them. I can't. And God gave me a heart like I do. I've achieved it. Like, I love my enemies. That's why this is so hard for me, because I love these people. I do have a question about some Nephilim. Shoot, but I'm not the, like, no, I'll be all. I'm not queen bee of knowledge here. Like, I share what I have, though, so I'm happy to share, or I'll point you in that direction, or I'll research like heck to try and get you an answer. That I'll promise you. So it says a mother pregnant with a Nephilim can ignite a Bible upon physical contact. Um, they're also considered unholy beings and abominations. It's forbidden by the oldest laws of heaven for this to occur. It says even while still developing in the womb, it's fatal to the mother. It is said that at that point, the Nephilim already came into being. Now, here's the thing that you need to know for this day and age. These beings grow rapidly. If they're playing with the clocks, if they are fast forwarding time on us, which a lot of us have noticed our digital clocks are kind of wonky, if they're doing this is why I'm getting an analog again with a quartz. You want the quartz. Anyway, moving on. I try to give you tips, lots of tips. Drink from copper every now and again, it's good for you. I sure hope so. Do some Nephilim choose to serve God? I hope so. Because I'm going to tell you how they were raised in a second. And this is the heartbreaking part. If you have a heart, because this is where I have a really big problem with like what's going on right now with the Epstein files, because we just don't know. And again, that's triggering to me because I have someone I love very much, and I hope some of them choose God. Now, here's the thing: they grow very fast. So if they're trying to fast forward the clocks, this could be why. If the Antichrist is born in here, but he was just born, then they need him to grow. It's very important you understand Handmaid's Tale was shown to people for a reason. I believe there's somewhere here right now, they have women of a certain age locked down having these babies. Like, I'm not even going to lie about that. I believe they're doing it right now. And I believe they've been doing it for a while, but something happened, the arrival of the Antichrist, I guess, to where everything's on, get out as many. It's like a production line, right? Right before war. These are their warriors. Get out as many as you can. Okay? They grow very fast. So we'll be able to see this. How fast did Barron Trump grow? How fast did Kanye's daughter grow? Because I'd swear she's only supposed to be 5 or 6, and girls like 12 looking like she's 35. Something's not right. Now, here's the thing. I can attest to this for a fact. You don't have to believe me. Go to God with it. This is what the alien abductions are for. This is what they will come back and they will harvest that child, that baby. This is why women have more than one encounter. Okay. And then they do tests because they want to know if that person resonates with you, if you can tell it's your child. So they'll send it back into your life. And I've experienced certain things. Again, this is very hard for me, so just bear with me. Um, Orphan trains are a big part of this too. Now, when they raise these children, they get rid of the parents. This is why you see so many people of one age. Now, I don't know how this happens. I don't know if it was a rapture and we're in Satan's short season, or if they legit ended all the parents to raise this generation. This is why you're seeing this split in Gen X, like my generation. My story is not unique of estrangement. And the ones who got our kids to estrange from us, sadly, is their own grandparents, aunts, and uncles. That's why I said this is very hard for me because these are people I love, but they dogged me. They dogged my children. I'm not going to quit or give up until there's justice for these children, one way or another. And I don't mean harm, I mean reparation. Do like you used to do, make the criminals live on an island, make them build things, make things, put them to work. I don't care. Have them grow the food. But there's got to be justice one way or another. And there also needs to be justice for false accusations because that's a big part of this as well. Um, yeah, that's a big part of this is the you don't know what's true because these children who are separated from their parents, they're raised through like the orphan train thing that we all talk about now. They're told, and they're usually you've got like 5 to 10 kids raised by one husband and wife. Unfortunately, usually the husband and wife are depraved. Sometimes they're brother and sister, and I know this now for a fact. I didn't know it when I was brought into this town, but I can see it now. You can see it with your eyes how they're normalizing sons being with their fathers or daughters being with their fathers. Like it's getting normalized. This is why women of my age are at danger right now because of this calling, this purge. But again, we have sovereignty on the earth. We are its caretakers. We are above the fallen ones, guys. You need to understand this. Aliens, whatever they bring out, they cannot force you to do anything. They need your consent. Do not give it to them. Okay? So when they separate these children from the mother, there's like 5 to 10 orphans raised by one set of parents. Now, even if it's not true, this is what the parents will do, the new parents, the adopted parents will do. They tell all these children that they were unloved, that their parents did not want them, even if the kids were stolen, right? Think orphan trains, think of what we're talking about here. These are hybrids, raising other hybrids. Sometimes fallen angels looking like people raising hybrids. They hate humanity. So they tell these children as they're bringing them up, your parents hated you. They did not want you. You know, you were unwanted. And they also tell them that they were molested, whether it's true or not. And that's what they do. So now you have a whole generation of children that have been raised this way who hate the generation before them. I'm not saying we haven't made mistakes, gang. Like, I'm here to own it. But high, very high, but not the most high with a firmament. I love the firm. I love talking about the firmament. I don't know why. I just think it's so cool. Like, and I don't know why more people aren't just seeing it. Like, you can't have a rainbow without, they taught us that in science class. Okay, so the Nephilim's body begins to shut down progressively. Here's the thing. When it says metal and flesh cannot blend, I don't know what's up with the elements that the angels are made of. Maybe it's some type of metal. maybe we can look into that word, do a word study more. But it says that their bodies will actually start to degrade over a time because of the mixed genetics. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. Now I have a list. Now that you know a little bit about Nephilim and the different angels, what options do we have here, gang? Well, we've talked about shapeshifters, we've talked about skinwalkers, we've talked about Wendigo. I think they're all they all come from the same, they're all the same, how would you species, like subsets of the same species? Does that make sense? So I got a list. I love there's certain websites you'll see like I'll go to all the time and I do try to remember. This is called Listverse. Listverse. And this is from 2009. You know I love the older stuff. That's what I want for Christianity too. I want the root. Like I want the root. I want to know why those people were ended for it. I want to know what they knew. Okay, so this is we're gonna go over a list of 10 beings that shapeshift, and then sadly we're gonna have to look at the end, because it's gross, I saved it for last. We're gonna have to look at creatures who are through mythology, who are able to consume their victims and then turn into them. There are also other ones, like the Hat Man, whatever that thing is, if he has a hat of his one of his victims, then he, as long as he's wearing it, he can appear as that person. Now, a lot of this in witchcraft can be called a glamour spell, which is one of the easier superficial spells. The person doesn't actually change, it's just an image. That's what happened in Snow White. And I refer to movies a lot because we can all kind of meet there. That's what happened with Snow White and the Wicked Witch and the Queen. That was just a glamour spell because when she put on the cloak, she wasn't actually another being, okay? Or if you want to get deeper, you could say she, ate children, but that's what Hansel and Gretel was. Okay, list first. Shape-shifting, blah, blah, blah. We're going to talk about 10. Okay, so this one's weird. I've never heard of this. This is from Slavic mythology, which is where you get a lot of the fallen angel. It was originally written Slavic Orthodoxy. Forgive me, I'm not actually a professor. I just research like crazy. The Leshy is a male woodland spirit, so it's like a fairy. Mythology in Slavic mythology, believed to protect wild animals and forests. I better be careful. They usually appear as tall men. Why are they all tall? Wendigo, Slender Man, they're all ginormous. Why? Why is that their favorite way to appear? Well, number one, because they know it will scare humans. Okay? Now they have pale white skin, dark green eyes. They're lords of the forest. They hold close bonds with gray wolves, bears, and all animal life. You're going to say, well, Jen, what does this have to do with what we're talking about? Because if you look at these things, these beings all across all these different cultures, Greek mythology, Norse mythology especially, um, they're all the same beings, but coming from a different area culturally, right? So, for example, the Norse giants, right? Like Leif Erikson, they have red hair, oftentimes green eyes, with really pale skin because of the area that they hail from. All right. And also because of, we talked about this, unfortunately, uh, because of inbreeding, because the more you do that, the more melanin that you lose. This is what happened to Moses, and this is what happened to Noah. You can look back at another video about that. I've always been here as far as I'm concerned. All right, so a selkie. Now, a selkie, it would be what you call today a mermaid. Now, it says it's interesting. They're found in Icelandic and Irish and Scottish mythology. Now, again, you have Enoch telling us that the wives of the Watchers, they turn into witches because of what they're taught. They're taught witchcraft. And witches and water don't mix. So I don't believe that part of Enoch. I don't know what happens there. I don't know if it's different strokes for different folks. I don't have all the answers, but I am trying to find a lot of them. I'm sorry you got knocked off. I didn't do it. I like having you here. And I did say hello and stuff. It was late. I apologize. They have the Selkies or what you would call mermaids today. They have the ability to transform from seals to humans. Now they can shapeshift by shedding their seal skin. This is why when you see them in pictures, they have the tail and the human. And again, remember, pictures are symbolic, right? Did the Minot or not the Minotaur? Did these beings who had half human bodies and half animal bodies, were they actually like that? Or could they transform into that? Were they just showing us in illustrations, hey, this being is part human, part fish, right? So we're showing you both in this picture, but they can only actually be one at a time. And again, I'm tossing this to you because I'm not sure. I don't know everything. So, you know, YouTube does that. Yeah, because they're sons of guns, aren't they? They hate me. But again, the elites walk beside you, man. And a lot of it's public information. Look people up in your family. Look and see like where they're sending money to. You're allowed to do that publicly, especially like if they inherit an estate from somebody. Go look up where they're sending money. Like that's how I found out a lot of stuff was being sent to Israel. And I'm like, what is going on here? And then I started paying attention to stuff. And then I'm like, how did they all get blue eyes? Their parents don't have blue eyes. Pay attention, man. You got to pay attention. And they're given right now what they're doing is given false science. The stuff that you see that they're talking about now, I believe in real science, like repeatable, verifiable, real science. I don't know why that's like that. Why does it look like that, guys? Interesting. The counter's still working, so I'm not sure. Okay. So the Selkies, sadly, it's usually a tragic love story. They're allowed to contact humans, but only for a short amount of time. Think of the story of Ariel. Because they must return to the sea, but they have to have that skin. And this is why a lot of times you'll see in a lot of these, mythological movies and shows, if you steal their skin, um, they're stuck the way they are. Or sometimes it's easier to hurt them as an animal, say their animal form is a crow, and you see them transform. If you hurt the crow, their human form will be harmed too. So if it's easier to hurt a crow in your story, you would wait for it to transform, harm the crow, and then you'll see the being transform again. I forget what movies that's in. We've seen that in a few different fairy tales though, where the thing transform like American Werewolf in London, right? He gets hurt and he immediately goes back to being human. That's what I'm talking about. Okay. Now it says this is interesting too. If a man finds and steals a female Selkie skin, she will be under his control and forced to become his wife. Forced. I hate that. Like, it doesn't matter what species we are, we're always like being forced to do these things. The creatures have been known to lure humans into the sea by what? Creating illusions and a false sense of reality. I found that very intriguing because who else do we know that can do that? Angels and their progeny. Okay, 8 is the Berserker. Now, he's one of the Norse warriors. So again, think fallen angels that are Norse. They're human, but in battle, they get into a nearly uncontrollable trance-like fury and transform into wolves, bears, and wild bulls. Who did we just talk about who has the 3 faces? And it's the bull, the wolf. I don't know if it's the bear, though. I think it's a lion. But it was the cherubim. I think it was the first one, cherubim. So again, remember that. Now it says here they're characterized as having bloodshot eyes, incredible strength, and endurance. Various Scandinavian kings used berserkers as part of their army as hired men or royal bodyguards. Similar behavior is described in the Iliad, in which warriors are possessed by gods and given the power to exhibit superhuman abilities. Um, I would also call that a bloodlust, like uncontrollable bloodlust. Now, 7 is a Bakeneko? Where's it from? They're monster cats, and they're from Japanese mythology. They're feral. When cats live to old age, they begin to develop supernatural abilities. They begin to walk on their hind legs. They possess great shape-shifting abilities and frequently disguise themselves as smaller cats or humans, sometimes even their own masters. That's interesting. They have a master. I would say that classifies as a demon in any other culture. 6 is a puka. Now, again, what we're trying to do is connect these across cultures, and we're hearing the same things. But what is happening today? I thought we were told that the fallen ones were locked up. So, what's our option then? Either A, we're in judgment day and it's just taking a very long time for everybody to be judged, and it's one of God's days and not ours. I mean, it's a possibility. Or, and again, we're not hiding things here on this channel. We're going by the premise that we have seen with our own eyeballs people take on completely different characteristics and mannerisms and like body habits, body types, this type of thing that we're told is impossible, right? This is why they're bringing out like this demon face syndrome. And this is why they're bringing out these silicone masks. They're showing you their bag of tricks so that you don't figure out they don't even need that, but the main maggot tricks, right? Which is the other beings that they're working with and operating with here. And again, sadly, a lot of our human cohorts have signed off on this. Joe Rogan, I thought he was starting to come around, but not after being in that White House. Again, this is just a show. Trump is he's the perfect guy to sell off America. What did he do as a businessman? He was constantly bankrupt, but he would come back, right? Well, our nation is bankrupt, and he's the perfect face to sell it off and placate people and, do the handshakes and all that stuff. Acting, man, it's all acting. And the sad thing is they created money. Money is nothing to them. Most of them don't work or they pretend like they go to work, and for whatever reason, they're voyeurs. They watch everything we do. And they told us that with Watergate, and they told you that with P. Diddy now. How did they get all those videos, guys? And they're saying P. Diddy put all those cameras in. He put all those videos and cameras in his house. He didn't do that himself. No, he didn't. Everybody's house is wired at this point. Everybody's. And it's been that way since we were born. It is, PK Dick was right about that. We are still in the Roman Empire in that way. Okay, so a puka is from Celts, but the proper way is Celtic. Celtic folklore, most notably in Ireland. So it's a mythological fairy and ultimate shapeshifter. They can assume a variety of terrifying forms, including a horse, rabbit, goat, goblin, or dog. Huh. Now, does that sound? I don't know if that sounds like an angel, really. Orange eyes. They have the power to use human speech, and although they are known for giving good advice, they also enjoy confusing and terrifying humans. Sounds like fairies, tricksters. What Christian? They fall under the demonic realm for Christians. But I know we know there's more than that. Even God himself tells us all the time, like which heaven he lives in the top one, but there's other heavens where powers and principalities dwell, and they gave up their first estate. They want nothing more than for you to give up your first estate, which is the earth. And everybody thinks we go somewhere else, and I'm not saying that we don't go to a different dimension, like we can't be seen, but the earth is our home. So I would not be volunteering to leave here with anyone. I would be waiting for God himself to do whatever it is he does, right? Because you don't want to go. What if you end up with one of these creatures? You think you're going with an angel, you think you're being raptured on a spaceship, and you're going off with a freaking Wendigo. Basically a Nephilim spirit that has an insatiable appetite for human beings. But you've consented, you've got on the ship. I'm just saying, be careful. There's a lot of deception right now in this time. So, Wendigos are the mythology of Algonquin people, and they're large alien like canine beasts. And again, they're insatiable. I would say this is a different iteration of the same Nephilim spirit. Absolutely. So, we have those. Encantado. It's a Brazilian legendary creature. They live deep in an underwater realm named Encante. Encantados are most commonly viewed as a type of freshwater dolphin. Uh-oh, uh-oh. Or a sea snake. I saw a snake yesterday. Oh my gosh, I forgot to tell you guys about it. Scared the crap out of me and Toby. I was so proud of myself because I didn't pull out my phone to take a picture. I grabbed Toby, I was like, no, he didn't even see him, which was cool. But dude, it was as long as my arm and as round as my arm. It was just this like 2B looking snake, and it was black, and it just went boop right into the water. I'm so grateful. Okay, moving on. Sorry. Encantados are most commonly viewed as a type of freshwater dolphin or sea snake that has the ability to shapeshift into a human. Now, note they live in water. The marine kingdom. Why do we have a marine kingdom? Because of the flood. I don't know that these beings completely, again, die because they have angelic. None of us, all of us just change form, but we're going to either devolve or evolve spiritually into whatever refined. So some are going to go demonic, just like the angels. Some humans are going to go demonic into an even lower vibrational energy frequency dimension. I believe it's still here on Earth. We just can't see it. Maybe we know where it's at. Anyways, moving on. And some of us will ascend spiritually. We will evolve spiritually. Okay. And when I say evolve, I'm not talking about growing extra noses or extra ears or anything like that. So it says they are characterized by the superior, here we go, and always the underwater ones, superior musical ability. We hear this about the Selkies, about the shrieking and stuff. We hear this a lot. Seductiveness and attraction to parties, which is odd. That reminds me of Cinderella. The creature's transformation into human form seems to be a rare and usually occurs at night. While in human form, the encantado will wear a hat. We were just talking about hat man to hide its protruding forehead. That's another thing to talk about. Not always with the women. It's not as pronounced. But with the men, and you can look yourself, just look around. With the men that I believe are hybrids that are walking around today with the blue eyes, they always have blue eyes, right? Or black, but they'll hide black if they got black eyes. Um, this is why they got all those different, again, contacts. They want you to think all this stuff is tech. They want you to think the weather changes. They don't care that we blame NASA. They want us blaming NASA, guys. They don't want us thinking it's the most high creator, maker, fabricator, God. Okay? And some of these angels, think about it, they gave up their first estate. Some of them were probably in charge of things like rain and weather. You know what I mean? Actually, a couple of them I'm pretty certain are. So these ones are underwater too. And it said, oh, the protruding forehead, like the Neanderthal thing. You will notice that. Look at, and again, I'm sorry, but Erica Kirk, there's something that you can't look. Her face glitches. Like, I don't know how to describe it because one of the girls I worked with was the same way. Although it was odd because she did have brown eyes. But the ones who are really, I don't know, maybe there was a second incarnation and the blue-eyed people, the ones who really had their genetics tweaked, right? They don't have just a little bit, they have a lot of angelic DNA, right? And I'd like to know where are they getting this angelic DNA? Because if you look at what CERN's doing, they're colliding particles, right? Well, ions, protons, neutrons, if you look at the definition, those are just different forms of light. They're angels. So they're harnessing the power of angels. So are they then somehow, I don't know how you mix it with human beings, but somehow they're doing it. But you can tell this Neanderthal type of forehead, and you can see it in Erica Kirk. And I have a couple people around here that I know, male and female. It's not as pronounced on the females, but definitely on the males who have that like that thing like that. I don't even know how to do it. And again, I'm not cracking. I believe I love all of these people. I've been around them for years. They don't feel that way about me. Again, their hearts are not like ours, guys. And I've cried about this many nights for years, literally every day. Being so sad, being so upset that I've lost my family, being so upset that they weren't who I thought they were. That they seem to have been taken over by some other thing, right? And this is why I do this. Okay. We have the Aswang. Is from Filipino folklore. This is interesting. It's almost always a vampire witch that's female. They eat the dead and they are cannibals. Okay? Garlic bulbs, holy water, and other objects are believed to repel them. They also eat children and unborn fetuses according to lore. Now, here's the thing to remember. We talked about the angel Raphael, I think it is, who pregnant women used to like do his sigil on their stomach because, again, this is when people were more informed. They knew what to do they knew that these things existed. It wasn't a question. And women would lose their babies, or they'd come and take very young babies. And again, I was at a party one night and nobody was watching this newborn baby, and I could not figure out what, like, the mom was pregnant for 9 months, whatever, you're hanging out a little bit. I was the only one who, like, wasn't rolling and doing all this other stuff. And I'm like, nobody's paying attention to this baby. So I went up and the window was wide open and like the curtain it was blowing in the air. And so I shut the window, right? And I get the baby and I'm rocking the baby because I also have a young child. But I would go out every now and again with this girlfriend. Um, and again, I was the only sober one. And I go downstairs, or no, the mom came up. She was like, no, 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 we leave the window open. Leave the baby alone. He'll be fine. Come on with us. Come on. I didn't like, at the time, I'm thinking, "Wow, what a bad parent," but now I look back at that, knowing what I do now about this area, how steeped in the occult and satanic panic was around this area, and women have been ended right down, the road from me, basically, near Erie, so this stuff hits close to home because I've seen people. I think that was an offering. I think they left the window on purpose. I think they left it like that because they were mad that I went in there and closed the window, like something's going on with people, man, and it's been our whole lives, but now it's very noticeable. So then you have vampires, of course, who are able to change, and lycanthropes, which are the werewolves. Now, I want to read to you a list that I made, or that I've pulled up here at the end of this video. My lips are chapped. I got a lot of sun. I did a lot of yard work, but now today it went from like 70 something. It's like 40 here. I don't know. I didn't ask for the code, I promise you. Okay, so I Googled, and this is gross, witches that eat and take on the lives of their prey. Because again, I want to know if my sister in law turned into this other woman, if her spirit inhabited that body, or if somehow it's her own body and she actually did pass. Do you see what I'm saying? I know that probably doesn't make sense, but if you go back to the beginning of this video, you'll understand what I'm talking about. I need to know if she actually did pass now, or if she's still here in this other woman, or if that other woman now is also gone because it's one of her other aliases, because they have many faces. So, raven mockers, the Cherokee consider the most dangerous of witches. They're called raven mockers. They are described as invisible, and they fly through the night emitting a raven-like cry, like a banshee. They descend on the sick and dying to steal their hearts, adding the stolen years of the victims' lives to their own, allowing them to live indefinitely. That is something the fallen will do. Again, if they can get you to consent to taking over your vessel, they will go from that person into yours. Like, this is what they do. It's musical chairs of their spirits. They will go from body to body to body. And again, this is why in the Bible that they fought over Moses's body. I'm convinced because Satan would have relished the fact of one of his own or even him to get in the body of Moses and mislead God's children. Do you see what I'm saying now? Listen to what I'm saying. If Satan would have won that fight with Michael, Saint Michael, and he would have gotten Moses's body, he then could have possessed it, or one of his minions could have, went back to the children of Israel like a miracle occurred, and misled them, misled God's children. You see does that, I hope that makes sense. Snake eating its own tail, Aurora Boreas. Okay, so lamias. That's a Greek generalized term, and they are depicted as seductresses or a creature with snake-like features. The Lamia is a demon witch. It lures victims, often children, to consume them. It's sometimes linked to vampirism, and in modern day folklore, they're depicted as taking on the appearance or life force of the ones that they devour. Again, I remembered that from my childhood, so I wanted to Google it and see how many creatures are able to do that. And if they all match up, then I can reasonably say, okay, these are all different iterations of the fallen in different cultures, and these group of them are the cannibal ones, right? Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you spending time here. I hope that you take away something useful to you. And God bless you. I pray you have a blessed day. Thanks so much for being here. Okay, Baba Yaga, Slavic. Baba Yaga is a powerful, and now this is the person that even Christians are talking about, all these predictions that this blind woman made. Understand, right? Just like Odin, he went through self-flagellation. He offered himself up to go through all that pain, like Dee Snider's movie. He went through all that pain to see over in the other side and bring back knowledge for people. So they looked at that as a type of sacrifice. And this Baba Vega, even Christians are talking about her prophecies. You can't do that, guys. She's a witch. We're not allowed to. I don't even know what her prophecies are. I don't care. To me, that's like horoscoping because she's a witch. I don't want to know what she knows, right? God talks to me. I'm good with what he tells me. If he wants me to know something else, he could tell me. But they're ambiguous witch known to fly in mortar, living in a house with chicken legs. She's known to devour humans, often children, as one eats chicken, taking their lives to fuel her own unnatural survival. European folklore will call it a streaka or a streaks. These are medieval flesh-eating witches. They're associated with vampires. They're known for consuming the blood, ooh, and liver of children. They take the life of the prey by destroying them, sometimes associated with dark shape-shifting. Now remember, we learned the generic witches through Navajos are medicine people. They start out as their doctor for the clan, but then they go dark by ending one of their own, and they take on the form of animals, people, all these different things. But again, it's like different people depending on your bloodline. Some can shapeshift and some need like animal skins. It looks like there's different iterations of the hybrids, okay? This is a tough topic, I know. The Cherubim, Indian folklore, they have one too, a vampiric witch. It's said to suck the life force out of men through their toes. That's a new one. Kyoshi, South Asian folklore, a type of witch spirit that consumes the hearts and livers, representing a supernatural theft of life. Let me tell you, one of the women I know, one of the older women I know, love her to death, pray for her all the time, hates water, won't go over a bridge, doesn't like water, hates it that much that she will not go on a bridge. Has to enter and leave out of the same door. Has to. There can be no other option. Those are witches, guys. I don't care what you say. That's what's going on. I started having dreams that they all wanted to eat me. And then I learned about this other stuff after. Like, you got to understand, God is talking. There's nothing that can stop it at this point. Is it the end of days? I don't know, but God is definitely giving us divine intervention through our dreams, our experiences, all that at this time. This will be the last bit of this video. And then you'll notice as we go along, we're building. The next video that we do on this topic will be focused, right, on just one or two. But after this, I think I'm going back to the statues because there's more information on that. So this is what I asked. Because I first I asked Google and I also asked, what is that other one called? Edge or something? I asked that one. And it always gives me different answers, guys. That's why I use more than one search engine. So Google told me, I said, what creatures can consume their victim and then become them, right? Now it's saying, this gave me different, Google like doesn't want you, it says no real world animals physically transform into their prey. I said creature specifically for a reason because I should have maybe said humanoids. And then it would have gave me like witches and, angels or whatever. Creatures with extreme consumption behavior. You have matrophagy, eating the mother. Young crab spiders and sometimes species of desert spiders will hatch and eat their mother. Again, Watch the Nephilim episode of the show Supernatural. I have no doubt that they are playing Handmaid's Tale somewhere right now. Probably in, if I'm right about this, if my ears have heard right, um, what is that one base called down south in Mexico that the one Bill Cooper talked about? Deluche? That's where stuff's going on. And I think they have women right now against their will. This is why we're told like not to be pregnant at the end days because it's bad. God has to intervene or there will be no flesh left. God could be letting them mess with the clocks and God could be the one messing with time because he shortens the day or there would be no flesh left. So he shortens that time for the elect. How do you know you're one of the elect? Do you remember? Because some people have a hard time with this. I still have a hard time. I still doubt. If you're doubting, I mean, we're in a tough time right now. But as soon as the good thing about this time, as soon as you do something wrong, like sin and actual, you'll feel it. Like you'll know it. I don't know how to explain it. Uh, Burning cheeks, you'll just get that immediate like, I messed up, right? I don't know how to explain it. But God, he's paying attention. So in the supernatural episode where she gives birth to the baby, she dies. So you might want to check that out. Manatees do something similar. A lancet fish, which I've never heard of. They're deep sea fish known for extreme cannibalism. Then you have the Wendigo and the Manananggal from Filipinos, and also parasitoid wasps. And I find it interesting that some of these animals, tinkering with the genes, you have these things that are in common. What do you guys think is going on? Are we all just crazy and having similar hallucinations about people looking different and changed? Is it all plastic surgery across the board and women and men of different ages from different backgrounds, all their plastic surgery is suddenly going bad at the same time? Or is there something to this? I think there's something to this, and I think it's pretty obvious there's something to this. And I hope that I continue to offer up evidence, and I hope I continue to help you on this channel be above all the paradigms. Don't be in politics when you come here. Don't be in entertainment. Don't be in any of those paradigms, right? Because we try to look across the board where we see these commonalities. And where you see commonalities in reality, grab onto that because that's where truth lies. It's where truth dwells. All right, I'm going to end this. You guys, please pray for me as I pray for you. What do you guys think is happening? Please let me know. Talk to me in the comments. I really could use some fellowship. And again, that the woman who allegedly passed, I loved her like a sister, and doesn't matter to me that people don't always feel that way in return. I choose to love them anyway. And I try to take something away, even people that dislike me or I dislike. I try to take something good away from knowing them, right? I try to learn something from everybody. And that sometimes, also helps me to love them, to love my enemies by taking something away from the experience and allowing them to teach me something. And I can say that she taught me, she always had a smile for everybody no matter what. She always tried really hard to be a really good hostess. And she taught me not to be afraid to get my hands dirty because she always had dirt under her fingernails. She had an amazing green thumb. So that's what I learned from her. You guys have a blessed day and tell those that you are grateful for them. Tell them now while they're still here and while you still remember each other, whatever's going on. I love you guys. Stay blessed. Bye.